Go.
Okay, great. Just give me one quick second.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Perfect. Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much, everybody who's on the call. We appreciate your time. I know it's a very busy week for everybody, so hopefully this won't take up too much time, but really wanted to talk about something that I think is so relevant through the markets at this time. We've been seeing a huge increase in orders come through, which is so awesome, but we really want to make sure that the orders that are coming through are being set up to be successful. So before I jump into that, I also just want to make one small announcement, which is Black Friday campaigns. It's an extremely busy week for advertising, obviously, with Black Friday coming up. So we're asking that everybody please make sure that if you have a campaign that needs to go live before the holiday weekend, we need to have all of the IOs and all of the assets by close of business tomorrow. And if we are designing the creative, if we have to create email proofs and banner ads and go back and forth with the client to get approval, we really need those by end of day today. So please keep in mind that it is an extremely busy week and my team is hustling their tails off to get everything launched on time, but the sooner you can get us the stuff, the better. So, with paid marketing technology, we've talked about this quite a bit, and hopefully by now everybody's pretty familiar with all the differentiators and what makes us unique and how our product is superior to traditional digital advertising and what other marketing companies are offering. I believe, and everybody at Bridge believes, that our proprietary technology puts us at a huge advantage. It really does. So I feel so fortunate that at Cumulus, we're able to bring this technology and the people-based marketing solution to the market and to our advertisers. As you know, we have a national database that is not purchased. Every consumer has opted in organically. We constantly are cross-checking and verifying the data to make sure that it's accurate. More information that's collected on each person, which is the offline, the online, and the mobile data, allows us to target more narrowly and then serve the ads much more efficiently through the cross-device and multi-channel platforms. All proof of ROI tools that we have, the matchback reports, the foot traffic attribution, cross-device pixel tracking, UTM parameters. I just noticed I spelled that, forgive me. But all of these are huge differentiators, so we really do have a very superior product. However, if campaigns get sent to us and they include things like poor offers, forgettable creative, an ineffective low frequency, and unrealistic expectations that are set with the client, none of it matters. The campaign's not going to work. So my talk today is to try to discuss some of the things to keep an eye out for as the DDEs and the leaders in your market. We're really asking that you try to work with your sellers and make sure that they're not submitting campaigns that are just not going to work because of those things. So I created a campaign checklist. For every campaign to perform well, it really has to include all of these things in addition to this great technology that we have access to. Number one, it's to have great creative. It has to be easy to understand in a matter of seconds. Ideally, someone can just look at the creative without even having to read anything and immediately understand what the offer is, what the advertiser is, what it's all about, and they have to get basic look and feel in advance. Otherwise, you might lose them. We need to make sure that we're using the correct ROI measurement tools. So it's so important that the sellers always find out what is the goal of the campaign, what has to happen in order for the client to think that it's successful. What is the client going to look at in order to decide whether or not it worked? Are they looking for website traffic? Are they looking for foot traffic, actual physical foot traffic in their store? Are they looking just to see, do they just want impressions because it's for branding? What are they going to look at? That's so important so that we can ensure that we're setting up the correct measurement tools when we build out the campaign. It's offer. What I always do whenever I talk to a client is think about if you were the consumer that they're targeting, is this an offer that you would actually click on or engage with? And if it's not, advertiser, see if you can come up with something better. I push back a lot on this when I'm meeting with advertisers. It's offensive. You're trying to help them out. So if they bring an offer to the table, which is a free consultation or 5% off or something like that, that's not really exciting, try to come up with something better. You all have a sense of urgency. If the ad doesn't have a sense of urgency, consumers are going to feel the need to click on it. You really want to make them feel like they have to click and they have to do it now or they're going to miss their opportunity. So try to encourage verbiage like click now, limited time only, limited quantity, the offer expires soon, Black Friday sale only. Try to give it a sense of urgency. Otherwise, people are just going to assume that they can just take their time and think about it and visit the website at a later time. The landing page is relevant. We have a lot of cases where where advertisers are getting frustrated that they're not getting forms filled out or they're not seeing versions on their website. And the answer to that is make sure that when people click on the ad, they go to the exact page that has that form. Or if you want them to end up making a purchase, click on the ad and go straight to your online store. Make sure that the landing page makes sense, and also make sure that it's mobile friendly, because as you guys know, about 80%, a lot more than 80%, are using their mobile devices now. So if it's not a mobile friendly site, that's a huge issue. And then it is very obvious, but a lot of advertisers leave it out. Make sure there's a call to action. Don't assume that consumers are going to click or call. You have to tell them what you want them to do. So if the goal is to get clicks that then take people to a website, make sure that you're telling consumers that they have to click to go to the website, click to redeem the offer, click to visit online store, click to get the coupon. If this is the goal, make sure we say that in the ad. These things that you want to avoid at all costs. Number one, promising that a campaign will go live the day of or the day after it's submitted. If you contract signed, that's awesome, but please don't tell your client, oh, for you, we'll just get it live tomorrow. That's very difficult for us. So please don't set that expectation. Try to always tell your client it typically takes 5 days to launch a campaign. That way, if we rush and we're able to get it done in 2 days, you look like a hero. But if you tell the client it's going to take 2 days and it happens to take 5, they look like the worst salesperson ever. So try to make sure that you're setting the correct expectations and don't promise a same-day turnaround. The second, avoid creative that's boring. There are so many advertisements that consumers are exposed to today that you really have to make sure the ads we are serving are making an impact. Make sure that they're not boring, forgettable, low quality, poor resolution. Don't make them too wordy. Don't make them offensive, especially to your own target audience. Keep an eye out for that stuff. Setting the expectation that results will be immediate. And I know that this is difficult because as radio sellers, you're used to seeing immediate results a lot of times. Digital is different. Digital takes a little bit longer than radio typically does to start showing results. So please don't panic if 24 hours goes by and you're not seeing forms being filled on the website, or if a week goes by and you're not getting the conversions that you wanted to see. Give it more time. Digital is notorious for having a ramp-up period, and one of the benefits of digital is that we can constantly tweak and make changes and optimize as we go. So you guys let it go through that process before we start measuring the results and freaking out. One, poor quality or an irrelevant landing page. Again, you got to make that the landing page makes sense, it's user-friendly, it's easy to navigate, and that it is relevant to what the offer or the advertisement is promoting. Add no offer. This is another one. There are so many ads that we see submitted that have zero offer. It's just branding. But then the client gets upset that people aren't buying their product or people aren't visiting their website. If no offer, people aren't going to click. So unless it's a branding or a public service announcement or something like that, always make sure that you have an offer. The consumer have to have a reason to click. It's like expecting a fish to bite a hook if there's no bait on it. It's very likely. And assuming that consumers will react if there's nothing in it for them. So again, this goes back to the offer. Don't assume that consumers are just going to know to click. You have to tell them to click and give them a reason to click. It's not selling enough ads. So keep frequency in mind. I know that it sounds like a lot of ads if you do a campaign that's for 2,000 impressions, but if we're delivering 25,000 impressions over several weeks, it's really not that many advertisements, especially depending on the size of the audience. If we're doing 25,000 impressions over 30 days to 50,000 people, that's not an effective campaign. So to be smart and try to make sure that we have enough impressions to at least have a frequency that's going to make an impact. So I'll show you just some real live examples of what I'm talking about. These are some ads that I received about a week ago from one of the sellers asking to put a campaign together, obviously for a jewelry store called Treasures. And I'm fortunate that I even saw these come through because I immediately pushed back and said, this will not perform well, we need new creative. I encouraged them to let us design a creative so that we could take a stab at it, but sometimes clients like to do it on their own or salespeople like to try to do it on their own, which is fine, but this is not going to be effective. So I just want you guys to understand why. One of the reasons, there's no offer. There's no call to action. We're not asking people to click. We're giving them a reason to click. The images. It's low resolution. It's difficult to see what this stuff is. The brown one in the bottom left corner is way too busy, and the text is too small to read. So that's why immediately we pushed back and said, please clean these up or let us create them, because it's not worth running a campaign that we know isn't going to perform. And here are ads that were sent over for the same client. Some don't even have the name of the business, which I looked at this and I almost thought it was a joke, but it's real and people send us this stuff. So please make sure that the ads actually say the name of the company. Some were distorted, so sometimes people will try to just take an image and stretch it to fit the ad unit size, but when it's obviously distorted, that can't work. It's not going to look good. No offer or call to action. Troubleshooting. Sometimes even when you think that you're submitting all the correct assets and the creative looks great and you've got a good offer and we have the great target audience and a good strategy put together, sometimes campaigns still start slowly or perform not as well as we had hoped. So whenever it happens, this is how I approach it. So I get on the phone with the client and I try to understand these 5 things. Number 1, what is the client's goal? What does he really want to see in the campaign to feel like it's working? 2, are we using the correct tracking methods to prove this goal or to track the goal? What is the offer? Is the offer good? Is there a call to action on the ads? And what's the creative look like? So that happened last week. This was a client called Cougar Chemical. I got an email that Cougar Chemical was a little bit uneasy about the performance of the campaign so far. So we got on a call. I asked them questions so that I could find out these 5 things. This is what I found out. The reason why he's concerned is because he wasn't seeing an increase in website traffic. That was his number 1 goal. One thing I found out was that I noticed as we were talking on the phone, I looked up what the insertion order was, and we didn't set up UTM parameters or cross-device pixel when we set up this campaign. The salesperson didn't ask us to, so we'll set these things up if we're asked to because we don't know what the client's goal is. That's always a question that you should ask. And if it is website traffic, always try to set up UTM parameters and a cross-device pixel because those things will help track the people who are seeing our ad and then going to the website. And it'll make it very easy for the advertiser to see what our campaign is driving to the website. So notice that. The other thing I noticed was that the campaign had only been live for about 2 weeks, so it's still a very young campaign. The good news is that we got on the phone early so we could address these things as the campaign, and we still have plenty of time to improve the performance. I also took a look at what the ads looked like, and this is what the ads were. So they're horrible, but the thing I noticed was that the text is kind of difficult to see, especially in this ad in the bottom right corner. The text is not very noticeable. The thing, I don't know what Cougar is. I have no idea what Cougar is. It doesn't tell me the name of the company. I don't really know what kind of company it is. Something has to do with cleaning, but is it a cleaning service that I hire? Is it like a car wash? Is it a product? I have no idea what Cougar is. There's a call to action, and there's no offer. So my answer or solution to this client was, first, let's implement the UTM parameters and the cross-device pixel. Let's change the creative, come up with some sort of call to action, and then revisit in a couple weeks. Let it run for a couple more weeks and then see where we are. So the things that I noticed on the ads, and then steps. This is what the ads were when we had our team create them and then send them back to the client. And the client was super happy with these. He thought these were great. The first thing that I really like about these that our team designed was it says the name of the company. So I know it's Cougar Chemical, cleaning supplies and detailing equipment. Okay, makes sense. I like that there's a call to action. There is a very large button in bright red that says shop online. So I know as a consumer, when I click on ads, I know exactly where I'm going to be taken to. I'm taken to their online store so I can purchase cleaning chemicals that aren't going to harm my vehicle, and it'll do a good job cleaning all the dirt and grime off. What I like about these is that it's just more eye-catching. This is much more noticeable and memorable than that white text on the former ads. I think all of this is really important. Again, as the DBEs and the managers of the markets, we're really asking all of you to try to keep an eye out for these things and please help guide your sellers. We do have an amazing technology and a very unique digital strategy that we can offer our advertisers, but we don't want to ruin that by in other ways and trying to just slap a campaign together and launch it as quickly as possible. You really want to make sure that all of this stuff is working together to create a really strong campaign. If you guys have any questions about any of this, please reach out to me. We're always happy to help. And I know as the guest speaker today, we have Karen Miller, who's the digital manager in Atlanta, and she has a great case study to share with all of you.
Yes, happy Thanksgiving week. As Marilyn said, I'm Karen Miller, and I work with the team in Atlanta with our digital products. Most importantly, in this market, we compete with Cox Media, who's been in the digital business for over 15 years. And so it was important to us to establish ourselves as providing services that were different from the competition. And I really feel that Bridge has given us an upper hand on talking to clients and showing them that we take a marketing approach to their digital campaign. And so first off, Caroline and I identified a couple of accounts, key in the Atlanta region. She came into town and we set up a meeting with an advertiser that spends about $250,000 a year on radio. We thought this was a good client to go after, show them that we could integrate their digital campaign along with their radio messaging and make it a very cohesive campaign. We have opportunity right now to do 100% of their digital advertising next year. So they gave us a test just a week ago for their CD offer. And this is, by the way, initially I was a little concerned that we wouldn't get as much activity with an older demographic with marketing campaign and display, but I was proven wrong. We really looked at the campaign to make sure that the impressions were placed against the places that we believe this target demographic visited. So in this example, I didn't place a lot of the impressions on Instagram. I put them on Facebook. And I got the results back today, and the click-through rate is nearly 9%. Engagement, the open rate is very high. So this product and this test will drive us to have an opportunity to have a gain every month next year, and this one order was $7,000. Carolyn, to that?
No, I think this campaign is going to work really strongly. I think you together did a really good job in the first initial meetings. I think we met them, one had a few follow-up phone calls, and we're very clear about how the campaign works. We set all the right expectations. We made sure that the creative was really strong. I remember we discussed a few times, just between me and you, what the offer should be. So I feel like this campaign is going to be a home run, honestly. I think it's going to work really well.
I will say that the account executives, they sent over creative to us, and then we sent it back to them and said, you have to have a click here for more information button. People could easily identify where they could get the information. They also had a very compelling offer. It was a high percentage rate on a CD, and we put that in the subject line. So I think a lot of the things you talked about today, we followed through on the campaign, and we're now seeing the results of it. That's all.
So anybody who wants to share anything with their AEs, I'm going to post this on Facebook, or if you just want to listen back to anything, you can. I can send you the link as well. And then, Carolyn, can you just send me this deck, and I'll have that up there as well?
Yep, absolutely. Thank you guys again so much, and have a great Thanksgiving.